Last week, residents of East Palestine, Ohio, were forced to evacuate after a train carrying toxic chemicals derailed. So it was a massive accident. Later on, a huge fireball. Now, it wasn't just the crash itself that had caused this fireball and toxic smoke clouds, but the spill of a chemical called vinyl chloride. Apparently, in order to get rid of vinyl chloride, they had to burn it off into the atmosphere. Oh, great. So, even more, so now we've got air pollution on top of whatever spilled onto the ground, got into the soil, into the groundwater, or could have gotten into the groundwater, into the rivers and lakes, streams. Now it's in the air. So, wonderful. Now, the Associated Press noted that the the controlled burn of chemicals following the crash had spewed gases such as phosgene and hydrogen chloride into the air. Phosgene is a highly toxic, colorless gas with strong odor that can cause vomiting and breathing trouble, and was even used as a weapon in World War One. So that is hanging out, or was hanging out over in Ohio. One resident told the Washington Post that her family had experienced headaches and nausea in the wake of the derailment, and this gets to a greater point, had expressed concern that local officials were suppressing information about the health consequences of the crash and the release of the chemicals. I will also note that East Palestine is not a wealthy area. So you had a lot of people that really, of course, couldn't pick up and move and have the resources to do so. And so now, this Republican governor, by the way, Mike DeWine, said, oh, that's okay. Everything's good now. So you can come back home. Well, many of them, without any other options, had to do that. And these people have reported strong chemical odors, blackened streams filled with dead fish, other issues. But, I'm sure that's nothing. No, to worry about, right? No, this is ridiculous. Of course there's something to worry about. Of course there's massive contamination. So now what is the rail company, Norfolk Southern? What have they done about this? Nothing. Well, I can't say nothing, but actually they did worse than nothing. They actually offered the town a mere $25,000. That's a donation to help affected residents. There's 5,000 people in East Palestine, Ohio. When you break that down per person, per resident, that's $5. Oh, we had a massive, train crash. You had a, derailment. You had to leave your home, and you may have chemical related health problems for the rest of your lives. Here's $5. Slap in the face. Absolute slap in the face. And then they also claim that vinyl chloride and other substances associated with the derailment exists in the air as a vapor, and that it evaporates quickly and does not absorb into household materials. Okay, but you're still breathing that. The company also added, it is not necessary to undertake any special cleaning of household items of air, and any odors present in indoor air will dissipate. Oh, wonderful. Oh, great. Now, the Washington Post also reported that residents returning to homes in a neighboring Pennsylvania town were advised by state officials to open their windows, turn on the fans, and wipe down all the surfaces with diluted bleach. So the company says one thing, local officials say another in a completely different town, which was just located a few miles away. Great. Lovely. So here's the thing. I think it's almost certain that it's not safe to go back. But again, you have people that have no other choice. I think the rail company, of course, is lying about the safety. These are chemicals that are known to have some pretty negative health conditions, including cancer, by the way, different kinds of cancers. These are the health conditions that people are going to have to deal with for years and years to come. But of course, that's not going to come out of apparently the rail company's pockets. Oh no, of course not. No, it's going to come out of taxpayers for things like disabilities. Not only that, but it's going to come out of their own pockets for from insurance. And so government and the people who are involved, who just happen to live there, they're the ones that are going to have to face these costs, both monetary and health-wise, maybe even lose their lives as a result. While this company just gets to give what is essentially pocket change. This is a $55 billion company. So why couldn't they pay for the cleanup? Which again, that's another thing the government has to take care of, taxpayers. And the health impacts of people that are going to have to deal with this stuff. Why don't they? Well, it's because of deregulation. And so this $25,000 donation, it is an insult. It is a slap in the face. And even worse, considering that this same company bought $10 billion worth back in their stock last March. And the other thing is, this entire thing could have been prevented. This issue was caused by brakes that were faulty. It was a mechanical error. And this brake design actually is described as being Civil War era. So they chose not to fix this issue, not to upgrade their brakes. But I guess when you don't have to really do anything and just give a donation for $25,000, you don't really have to. It gets worse, though. Federal officials had told the Lever that the train had not been regulated as a high-hazard flammable train. That's insane, considering how it's highly flammable and hazardous. How did this happen? Documents show that when current transportation safety rules were first created, the federal agency had sided with industry lobbyists and limited regulations governing the transport of hazardous compounds like this one. The decision effectively exempted many trains hauling dangerous materials, including the one in Ohio, from the high hazard classification and its more stringent safety requirements. Regulators had killed provisions requiring railcars carrying hazardous flammable materials to be equipped with electronic braking systems to stop trains more quickly than conventional air brakes. In fact, according to Norfolk Southern, their technology, electronically controlled pneumatic brakes, had the potential to reduce train stopping distances by as much as 60% over conventional air brake systems. Well, they had this technology. Why didn't they use them? Well, because they'd rather spend money on stock buybacks, executive bonuses. Stock buybacks just inflate the value of the company's stock so that they get more dividends. They get more money, the executives do. And by the way, they are allowed to do that because of the Trump administration. Stephen Dittmeyer, former senior official at the Federal Railroad Administration, FRA, told The Lever, quote, would ECB brakes have reduced the severity of this accident? Yes. He added that the railroads will test new features, but once they're told they have to do it, they don't want to spend the money. They would rather spend the money, by the way, not just on stock buybacks, but on lobby. The Biden administration, and this gets to where the lobbying has gone to. The Biden administration so far has not moved to reinstate these brake rules or expand the kind of trains subjected to tougher safety regulations, which means they're not going to reinstate the 2014 rule that was deregulated by the Trump administration. What is Pete Buttigieg doing? Nothing. This is even though a former federal safety official recently warned Congress that without the better brakes, there will be more derailments and more releases of hazardous materials. Yet, even though Everyone knows this is a problem. There are no new rules, at least on increasing the safety and stringent requirements for these trains. They're not bringing back these rules. Inaction on making trains safer. Buttigieg, who heads the Department of Transportation and oversees the railroads, has said nothing about the Ohio train derailment that I know of. Now, here's a statement, though, from the FRA. We're continuing to evaluate the potential for usage of ECP brake equipment to improve railroad safety and braking performance, such as researching the potential development of other enabling technologies to support adoption, a spokesperson told The Lever. As this evaluation continues to move forward, we'll determine appropriate next steps for the agency to take. Wait, now, you might think, well, you just contradicted yourself, Jeff. They just said that they're looking at rules. You just said that they weren't doing anything. What's the truth here? Well, they are looking at rules. There's at least one brake safety proposal currently under consideration by federal rail regulators. An industry-backed rule relaxing brake testing requirements. Hey, I said they weren't looking at any positive rules that would increase safety, but they are looking at deregulating. Of course they are. In 2021, in response to a petition from the Association of American Railroads, the FRA proposed amendments to existing safety standards that would reduce the frequency of brake testing on freight cars equipped with an electronic inspection tracking system. The changes under consideration are staunchly opposed by 5 major rail unions. And that's the other thing. So the rail companies are like, yes, deregulate, deregulate, deregulate. The unions are like, no, what's going on here? We can't stop. So, and look, the rail unions, by the way, they've been getting shafted in so many different ways. First, they don't have any days off. Okay? They can't take sick days. They don't have any of that. You also don't have enough personnel to run these trains. Okay? Then you've got aging infrastructure and deregulation, and the companies themselves not spending any of their money. Again, they're billion-dollar industries, multi-billion-dollar industries, to upgrade their infrastructure or to ensure that their trains are even safe to run. And then you get the derailments, you get the accidents, you get the spills. And here's the union saying, my God, we can fix this. Let's just fix it already. And yet you had the Biden administration, again, Buttigieg doing nothing in order to even bring these rules back. And then you also had the Biden administration breaking a potential strike, which also would have addressed some of these issues when it comes to rail safety. So, Biden administration, what are you doing? You're allowing these corporations, these big companies, to get away with poisoning small Ohio towns. That's what's going on here. And by the way, if this had been a wealthy area, would have been fixed immediately. Never would have happened, by the way. Yeah, as one of you points out.
Can't let that happen.
Would have been fixed. Never been an issue. But since it is a poor Ohio town, no, they let it go. And their people there are going to continue to suffer. Health issues weren't their fault. It's never going to get fixed.